Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're looking at a really compact camera, and it's made by Olympus, and it is the Olympus EP7. Now, this is the first camera to come out of the new stable, the OMD systems. Now, or OM systems, I think it's OM systems. Now, a company called JIP, Japanese Industrial Partners, bought the camera division from Olympus, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now, and they've rebranded the whole thing as OMD Solutions or OM Solutions. I can't remember which one it is. And all the cameras coming out now will be branded in the future as OMD Systems or OM Systems. And you know, they're still retaining at the moment the Olympus branding, but I do believe they're going to drop the Olympus branding and go with OM Solutions. But this is the first camera from the new OMD Systems or OM Solutions. God, this gets really confusing because I can't remember what it is. But they're not going to be called Olympus anymore. That much I do know. So this is the last of the cameras in the compact range that is going to be branded as Olympus, and it's the Olympus PEN EP7. Olympus PEN EP7. That is really sexy. Really nice controls and really compact. Extremely compact. Now, they've made it primarily compact because there is no viewfinder. That is disappointing. I say disappointing, I like to have a viewfinder, particularly in really bright sunny conditions. And I have noticed, even though the screen on the back of this camera is bright, there's no denying that, it's a really bright, usable screen. In really bright, if you've got the sun shining straight on it, you're not going to get, you know, it's not that good. But, you know, other than that, it's great. I know so many of us now are so used to taking photographs and video with mobile phones. You don't have a viewfinder with mobile phones, and people always just pointing the camera up like that. And I do it a lot, even with me professional cameras. You use the screen on the back of a camera. You don't, you know, constantly look through a viewfinder, and that's where, you know, DSLRs fail, because you have to look through a viewfinder of a DSLR. You've got no choice. With mirrorless, you don't. You're just looking at the back of a screen, and it's great. It's not a problem at all until you get into really bright conditions, and that's where, for me, it does become a problem. That's why I do enjoy using the OMD EM10 Mark IV, which I have here. This is the OMD EM10 Mark IV. It's not a great deal bigger actually in size to the EP7. They're very similar in size and weight. It's just the OMD EM10 Mark IV is taller because of the pentaprism in the, you know, middle. But other than that, they're pretty similar. So, you know, when I am going out and about and I want to travel light, I'll just take these two cameras with a couple of lenses, and I'm done. You know, I'm well happy then, because these take up, you know, enough all space in a small camera bag and a couple of lenses. You know, you're kicking. And this is a great thing with the Micro Four Thirds format, be it Olympus or Panasonic. You've got compact cameras and compact lenses, and I think that is great for when you're traveling. I suffer with a bad back, so I don't want to be lugging around full frame cameras and lenses. It's the lenses that makes the full frame and APS-C a lot heavier. It isn't necessarily the camera bodies, it's the lenses that weigh you down. With these two cameras, and even the EM1 Mark III, which I have on my desk over there, it's not a particularly big camera, so you could almost take 3 bodies with you. Not that you'd want to, but there's a great format for that. And, you know, and I'm going to go through some of the reasons as far as image quality is concerned. Some people do get a bit concerned about image quality suffering. A Micro Four Thirds sensor, you've got great images. I mean, can be an issue in low light if you're shooting at really high ISOs. So APS-C and full frame does have the advantage there. So if you're doing sports events and you're shooting in low light, you may want to go the APS-C route, or you might even want to go the full frame route. But for a travel camera and for enthusiasts, holidays, this camera would be great. So so let's get back to this camera. So it's got the 3-inch tilty-wilty screen, articulating screen. Now the screen, as well as tilting up, like that, it tilts downwards and it goes right the way down for doing your selfies. So, you know, great for doing your vlogging and your selfies, taking selfie pictures. The Face and Eye Detect works beautiful, has a nice box around the face, so you can see your face and it follows it, it sticks to it. It's really, really good. But if you're doing video, it hasn't got a mic jack. So if you are using this, and it'd be a great vlogging camera because it is so compact, and so like I could hold that out for quite a long time without having, you know, fatigue in the arm or whatever. So I do suffer with a bad arm, and that wouldn't really worry me. I would have to use a separate audio recorder though, because the mics in the cameras are not great. So I would use something like the Zoom H1N, where there's got a built-in micro SD card in the microphone, and then just sync the audio in post-production. That's what I would do to get really good quality sound. So on the top, it's got your two master control dials here, and that for me was a key selling point. So I can adjust the apertures and shutter speeds if you're in manual exposure nice and easily, or if you're in say aperture priority, you've got on the top here your PASM dial on the top here for your aperture, shutter speed, manual and what have you. So if you've got that set to aperture priority, what I've done with mine, or let's say for example shutter priority, I use the back one for adjusting the shutter speed. So that'll adjust for shutter speed. You can see there the shutter speed changing as I adjust that dial. And then I've got the front one set for exposure compensation. So that to me works brilliantly. So when you're out and about, I can very quickly adjust the shutter speed. If I need to adjust the exposure compensation, maybe you're photographing into light or videoing into light, you can adjust the exposure compensation just by turning that one dial. So it's a very pro feature. And you can also set it up for adjusting your ISO. So that's your exposure triangle really. It hasn't got a lot of the pro features that you wouldn't have. It's a compact camera. It hasn't got your pro capture mode, it hasn't got your live ND mode, and some of the other features you'll find in the EM1 Mark III, the OM1 and what have you, but they're bigger pro cameras. This isn't. This is a camera you shove in your pocket and you take it around with you. So it has got the same 20 megapixel sensor you'll find in the EM1 Mark III, and you'll find in the not the OM1, that's got a backside illuminated sensor, the EM1X. So the EM1X and the EM1 Mark III has got the same sensor as what the EP7 has. It's a 20.3 megapixel sensor, so you're going to get gorgeous results. You're going to get really, really nice images. If you're going into low light, this has got 5-axis image stabilization down to about 4.5 stops of EV compensation. So you can set slower shutter speeds to compensate for not having to set high ISOs. Now that won't work if the subjects are moving, but if you're photographing still life architecture, could be, you know, even inside churches or cathedrals, it is great because you can set a slower shutter speed and still get a sharp image without having to increase the ISO. That was an issue I found with the Nikon Z50, the Canon M50 Mark II, quite a few other, the Sony A6100, the 6000. I got quite frustrated because I had to really crank up the ISO to be able to get a sharp enough image, because I couldn't go sort of slower than 1/30th or 1/60th of a second, and in some cases even 1/80th of a second. But with this, you can almost go down to 1 second. It really is a really good point and shoot camera. So from that point of view, you know, is great. Now, as I said, it is the 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor inside. So interchangeable lenses. That was, you know, a big selling point for me. So you can put your normal micro four thirds lenses on, and there's a big range of micro four thirds lenses. For example, this one here is the 17mm. Look how compact that is. That's 17mm. Wide angle, equivalent to 35mm in wide angle terms. So, you know, again, that's an f1.8 aperture. So, you know, you're going into, you know, a darker situation, you've got an f1.8 aperture as well as the image stabilization. Wow, you're quids in, aren't you? but you can put on there like I got here. I've taken quite a few photographs with this lens. This is a 12 to 40 Pro lens that fit on there nicely. Again, that's got the manual clutch for manual focusing. That is awesome. That's equivalent to 24 to 80 zoom, and you can even use something like the 40 to 150 Pro lens. I have actually, you'll see, I'm going to go through some of these photographs, and some of them were taken with this 12 to 40 Pro lens. You know, yeah, it looks dumb fitted to, you know, a tiny little camera like the EP7, but nonetheless, it takes great images with it. The other thing, it has, because of the two control dials, that's why it's called the EP range. The EPL range has only got one, the EP range has got two. Hence the reason it's got the two control dials there. A decent on-off switch, really solid, nice field on-off switch. What I like about the on-off switch with this camera, I'm really glad they've put it on the right hand side where your thumb and finger is. So if you are just walking around the streets as a street photography camera, it's all controllable with one hand. And for me, that is really, really useful. So, you know, you literally just walk around, turn it on with one hand, then you can adjust your aperture, shutter speeds with one hand. Everything is just there, so you can literally just control that and take the photographs as you wish. Really snappy autofocus. It's fast. The autofocus is really good from something nearby, something far away. It really snaps the focus quickly, easily. I love it. You can adjust it. It's touchscreen, so I can adjust the autofocus points just by touching the screen. That'll set the autofocus points. It's got face detect, eye detect, and that's really, really good. That works extremely well. So, you know, all in all, it's a really capable little camera. You could almost use this as a backup camera for your main camera. I know if you're doing paid work for clients, they would laugh because they'd think, hang on, he's got a point and shoot camera there. So, you know, wouldn't look right, but it would get the job done in an emergency if you really needed to, because it's got the same sensor, as I said, as the EM1 Mark III and the EM1X. So you could shove this in your kit bag, or if you wanted to get candid shots, you know, so you could walk around getting candid shots, particularly if you're you know, a wedding photographer, journalist type photographer. And you can print large with Micro Four Thirds. As long as you're not shooting at high ISOs, you can print large with Micro Four Thirds. You know, there's no problem at all. So on the front, they have fitted a switch here, which is basically a filter switch. So you can set that to either colour or mono, and you can change the different mono settings and the different colour settings in that. It's only for JPEGs, it's not for RAW. I predominantly shoot in RAW purely so that I can adjust the images after the event. But it has got that feature, and that's great to play with. And it's great if you are shooting RAW, because you can set it to mono. So you've got a best of both worlds. You've got your colour images for adjusting in post, but you've got lovely black and white images as JPEGs if you do want to use them. So yeah, really, really nice little camera. Standard BLS5 battery, same as what the EM10 Mark IV takes, and the some of the other Olympus cameras. So, you know, standard little BLS5 battery, which is great. But if we have a look at a few of these images, you'll see how good the images are that come off this sensor and come off this camera, and with the right lenses, because you can get beautiful Pro lenses with the you know, in the Olympus lineup. For example, this one was taken on this 4D to 150 lens. So I took that, you know, some of these images were taken on this amazing 40 to 150 lens. I don't know if my Sony camera's going to focus on that. I think it has. So some of these images were taken on this fantastic 40 to 150 lens, as you can see here, and beautiful sharpness, colours, definition. So although the lens looks daft on such a tiny little camera, you know, works great. I will upload these images to my Flickr page. I also highly recommend a program called Luminar Neo. Now if we just edit this in Luminar Neo, now I've got it as a plugin in Lightroom, but it is a standalone program as well, and I love Neo, and I think it's well worth downloading now. I put a link in the description below where you can download a trial version of Luminar Neo, and I think you'll love it. And if you do decide to buy it, use the code AVP to get $10 off the purchase price, and I think that would be fantastic. It helps me out, and I think you'll really enjoy the program. And once you purchased it, you own it. There's no subscription model like there is with Lightroom. Once you bought it, it's yours to do what you want with and edit your photographs with. I still use Lightroom. I use it in combination with Lightroom, but you don't need to. You can use it as a standalone program. So use the code AVP, get $10 off. Let's choose another one. Let's say that one, and we edit that in Luminar Neo. Just do this quickly. Edit in Luminar Neo. Now that'll load up Luminar Neo. I still find it a little bit quirky when it changes between the two different apps. I don't know why it shut that one down, but there you go. So that's now loaded into Luminar Neo. We go into edit, go into the edit module, we'll choose the sky. We won't be fussy, we'll choose any sky. Let's choose that sky. That's loaded a nice new sky. Click on apply. And then that'll take us back to Lightroom. Then you can make your other final adjustments in Lightroom. So a very useful bit of software. And quite often I find a lot of times I have really boring skies, and it's nice to be able to have a program where you can quick and easily just gone the wrong way. You can quick and easily change the sky. Very boring sky to a more interesting sky. Not that you would necessarily choose that particular sky, but you know, but you can. So yeah, Luminar Neo, great little bit of software, and great to play with, and not expensive either. So take a look at that, and if you do decide to buy it, use the code AVP to get $10 off. So back to the EP7, the Olympus EP7, a great little compact camera, no viewfinder, so you are reliant on using the monitor. Great, but a little bit awkward in really bright sunny weather. Particularly if the sun is shining straight down on the monitor. Yeah, I can highly recommend the camera for its results, and I shall use it as my go-to shove it in my pocket type camera. 20 megapixel sensor, interchangeable lenses. And what more do I need to say about it, really? I will be more in-depth reviews once I've taken more photographs and more video with it. It does shoot 4K video. I would use it as a point and shoot video camera. Hasn't got a mic input, so it wouldn't be a professional video camera. But the video quality is great from it, but I would use it as a point and shoot camera as opposed to anything professionally. The autofocus is great, face detect is great. It has got no anti-alias filter, so the images do come out sharper because there is no filter over the front of a sensor. Yeah, nice handling, nice grip. Yeah, there we go. What more can I say about it? So that's an introduction to the Olympus EP7. Great little camera. I really love it. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography, audio, so on and so forth. Cheers for now. Bye.